What happens when the loudest voice in politics collides with the oldest fighter for America's soul? The question doesn't just hang in the air, it slices through it, electrifying the stage before a single word has even been spoken. The lights dim, the crowd roars, and suddenly, it isn't just a performance anymore. It's a mirror of America itself, a stage where two men embody two starkly different futures. On one side, the chants echo like a storm. USA! USA! Trump's rallies flash across the screen. Red hats, raised fists, slogans barked with the force of 1,000 amplifiers. His swagger fills the air like gasoline, waiting for a spark. He smirks, soaking in the chaos as though he invented it. This is his comfort zone, a battlefield of noise where volume counts for more than truth. Then the lights shift. A softer image emerges. Joe Biden, older, quieter, his words sometimes stumbling but his voice carrying the weight of decades. Footage of him speaking at small town halls, comforting grieving families, standing in the cold resilience of American struggle. He doesn't shout. He leans in. He doesn't inflame. He steadies. And tonight he stands on the same stage as his fiercest rival, not to out-yell him, but to outlast him. The beat kicks in, low, pulsing, relentless. A rap battle stage, lit in fiery reds and electric blues, transforms into an arena of clashing legacies. It isn't just music. It's history dressed in rhyme, politics wrapped in rhythm, and identity battling identity. Two men. Loss followed him like a shadow. Decades later, Beau Biden, his eldest son and closest confidant, would be taken by cancer. That heartbreak nearly broke him again. Yet Biden's instinct time and time again was not to withdraw but to serve. He spoke to grieving families, hugged parents who had lost children, comforted strangers with the empathy only someone scarred by grief could offer. Where others wielded power like a hammer, Biden carried it like a hand extended in solidarity. His political career was not free of stumbles. He made mistakes, fumbled speeches, endured ridicule for gaffes that became easy punchlines. Critics dismissed him as too old, too slow, too ordinary for the extraordinary stakes of modern politics. Yet those very flaws deepened his connection with people who saw in him something familiar: imperfection, persistence, humanity. Biden never won the crowd with sharp insults or theatrical displays. He earned respect through survival, through his refusal to let pain define him or arrogance consume him. For decades, he served sometimes at the center of power, sometimes on the margins, but always returning. He helped craft laws, broker compromises, and stood as vice president beside Barack Obama during an era of seismic change. He was the man in the background, often overlooked, rarely glamorous, but always present. And in an age of noise, presence itself became rare. To his supporters, Biden became the embodiment of empathy, the kind of leader who doesn't raise his voice to be heard, but lowers it so others can lean in. To his critics, he was too soft, too hesitant, too prone to stumble. Yet history often favors the underestimated, the ones dismissed as unlikely until their endurance outlasts the doubters. And that is Biden's true weapon: endurance. Where Trump thrives on the spectacle of the moment, Biden thrives on surviving the long haul. He does not need to dominate every second. He only needs to outlast the storm. His life has been proof that dignity may bend, but it does not break. His story whispers a promise to anyone who has been overlooked, mocked, or wounded. Survival itself can be a kind of victory. Now, as he faces Trump not just in politics, but in this dramatized clash of rhythm and rhyme, the contrast could not be sharper. Trump brings the fire of bravado. Biden brings the calm of a man who has walked through fire and kept going. Trump seeks applause in the moment. Biden seeks connection that lingers long after the noise fades. One man is obsessed with winning the spotlight. The other is driven by carrying the burdens of those who rarely get one. This rap battle, ridiculous on its surface, becomes symbolic in its depth. A clash between arrogance and empathy, between bluster and endurance. Trump will try to rattle him with volume, with mockery, with the force of personality he has always wielded like a weapon. But Biden has endured far worse than insults. He has buried loved ones, stumbled in public, been written off countless times. And every time he has returned. And on this stage, that endurance was about to be tested like never before. The beat drops, heavy and relentless, rattling through the rafters. Trump wastes no time. He lunges at the microphone with the same force he's brought to rallies for years, loud, mocking, dripping with confidence. His words hit like thrown fists, sharpened into sound bites designed to sting and stick. "Sleepy Joe," he sneers, leaning into the insult with theatrical exaggeration. The crowd erupts, some roaring in laughter, others gasping in disbelief. He smirks, soaking it in. To Trump, the stage is just another rally, another chance to reduce his opponent to a caricature. He paces like a predator, turning the spotlight into his personal playground, tossing out rhymes that are less verse and more taunt. His cadence is offbeat but commanding, the kind of rhythm that thrives not on artistry but on audacity. Every line is meme-ready, custom-built for TikTok and Twitter. He brags about towers, mocks Biden's age, twists gaffes into punchlines. Each insult lands with the precision of a man who has spent decades branding opponents with nicknames until they stuck like glue. The crowd is split, half delight in the mockery, feeding on the chaos, while the other half watches with tightened jaws, waiting for Biden's response. Trump raises a finger, pauses for dramatic effect, and bellows into the mic. He can't even finish a sentence. How's he going to finish a verse? The laughter crashes over the audience like a wave. Phones flash. Clips are already uploading, destined for millions of screens before the night is over. Trump revels in it, believing he's already won the room. But then Biden steps forward, slowly, calmly. He doesn't rush to grab the mic or shout over the noise. He lets the laughter fade, lets the crowd settle into an uneasy silence. The pause itself becomes a weapon, sharper than any insult. His presence, though quieter, carries weight. He doesn't need to perform. He only needs to stand. When he finally speaks, his words are deliberate, steady, almost conversational. He doesn't mimic Trump's cadence or volume. He chooses contrast. Where Trump throws fire, Biden lets the silence smolder before releasing measured flames. His verses carry less swagger but more substance, weaving resilience into rhythm. He doesn't fight Trump's chaos with chaos. He undercuts it with calm clarity, reminding the audience, without saying it outright, that dignity can be louder than noise. The tension rises. The crowd leans in, sensing a shift. Every time Trump tries to interject with a smirk or a muttered jab, Biden pauses again, letting the interruption collapse under its own emptiness. The patience rattles Trump more than any insult could. The smirk begins to slip ever so slightly. It's no longer just a battle of verses. It's a duel of styles, of values. Trump thrives on disruption, on pulling his opponent into the mud. Biden refuses the invitation, standing steady, letting the weight of survival itself speak through him. The audience feels it, the difference between a man chasing attention and a man grounded in endurance. By the end of the first round, the arena is transformed. What began as laughter now simmers into tension. The storm is building, each beat carrying the promise of an eruption. But the real explosion came when Biden dropped his counterstrike. For a moment, the stage belongs entirely to Trump. His smirk stretches wide, feeding on the echoes of his own taunts. The crowd is buzzing, half mocking, half entertained, the beat still pulsing like a war drum. Trump leans on the mic stand, convinced his opponent is cornered. But Biden doesn't move. He just stands there, letting the noise roll over him, letting the smirk across from him grow heavy with overconfidence. The silence stretches. It isn't weakness, it's theater, the kind of silence that makes a room lean forward. And then, with a steady breath, Biden steps into the rhythm. His opening line isn't shouted. It's spoken with razor clarity. You build towers out of glass and call it strength. I built a life out of loss and call it surviving. The crowd gasps. Trump blinks, caught off guard by the weight of words that cut without needing to scream. Biden continues, his verses layered with memory and grit. He weaves his story of tragedy and resilience into bars that sound less like political talking points and more like lived truth. You inherit, I endure. You mock, I mend. You tweet storms. I weather storms. That's the difference between a showman and a statesman. Each line lands with a precision that slices through Trump's bombast. The crowd shifts. Where there was laughter, now there is applause. Where there was noise, now there is a rising energy, building on every word Biden delivers. Phones rise higher, the audience desperate to capture this shift in real time. Clips flash instantly online. Hashtags begin to trend before the verse even ends. Trump tries to interrupt with a scoff, muttering low energy into the mic. But Biden doesn't flinch. He pauses, looks at him, and then delivers the counterpunch. Funny how a man who never served thinks service is weakness. Funny how a man who hides behind walls thinks strength is shouting. You want to call me sleepy? America knows I've stayed awake through every nightmare life threw my way. The arena erupts. The laughter this time isn't Trump's to claim. It belongs to Biden. The applause drowns out the jeers. Trump shifts uneasily, tapping the mic as if volume alone could restore his rhythm. But the swagger that carried him through the first verses now looks shaky, brittle, and Biden doesn't let up. His final lines hit with the cadence of history itself. I don't need gold letters on buildings. My legacy is carved in the people I've stood beside. You chase fame. I chase purpose. And that's a battle you'll never win. The words hang heavy, swallowed by a roar that shakes the stage. Gasps, cheers, applause. A chorus that feels less like an audience and more like a verdict. For once, Trump is the one left silent, his arsenal of insults rendered powerless by the quiet force of resilience. This was the moment, the clip that would replay millions of times, the verse that would be remixed, memed, and immortalized online. A mic drop not of noise but of truth, and once the dust settled, the ripple effects stunned the entire world. The battle ended, but the echoes refused to fade. Within seconds, social media detonated. Hashtags climbed to the top of trending lists. Our Biden bars, our Trump takedown, mic drop 2025. Memes flooded timelines. Split screens of Trump's stunned face against Biden's calm delivery. Captions like, when Grandpa schools the class clown, ricocheting across platforms. TikTok stitched Biden's lines into dance remixes. Twitter lit up with side-by-side comparisons. And Instagram feeds filled with screenshots of that frozen moment when Trump's smirk finally cracked. Celebrities joined the sea,